This is item 13. This is an application for a private plan change in Albany, members. It's quite a significant area. Now, you're probably wondering why delegated authority of the staff hasn't been taken advantage of here. It's quite a considerable area. It's not so much the area there. It does test the heights a little bit. So, and it's really a little bit dislocated from the core centre. Not that I'm making any judgment on that, but it is before us for our consideration. Todd is our planner that's been handling this, along with Warren. Todd, in your hands. And now it's, oh, I should also say, members, there was a very dense technical report. Thank you, Todd, for all that writing. That was attached to the report. So the main findings report, and then it had a very dense technical report, which is some couple of hundred pages, which gave you a sense of the detail. Now, you may not have delved into that, but I'm sure, Todd, you can give us some highlights here now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the Chair, Kia ora Planning Committee. My name's Todd Alder. I'm a planner in the Plans and Places team. I'm here to make a recommendation on this private plan change for the land at 473 Albany Highway that has been lodged by Bay Group Limited. The site is a former Massey University site, and it makes up approximately 13.8 hectares. My recommendation today is to accept the plan change for processing. So, cool. So, the location of the plan change is that area in red. It's within the Albany node identified in the Auckland plan, and its location, so it's the site in orange down the bottom, and its location in comparison to the Albany village is about 1 kilometre south. It's about 1 kilometre west from the Albany Metropolitan Centre, and approximately 2 kilometres away from the Albany bus terminal, which is the little red section on the top of the map. The lodged application has proposed that the site is rezoned from mixed housing suburban to terraced housing and apartment building, including a new precinct to enable a greater level of growth that the terrace housing and apartment building zone can accommodate for. This includes increasing the heights, so I've included the heights up there, and I've got a map, well, some diagrams at the end to help understand where the heights are distributed over the site and how they've designed the site. The heights range from 13 metres, 35 metres to 21 metres. 13 metres is about 3 to 4 stories. 21 metres is around 5 to 6 stories, and 35 metres makes up 8 to 10 stories. So it's a significant increase in height compared to the mixed housing suburban. The precinct has come with a master plan, and the precinct is trying to achieve a internal open space area, which is that section in green down the middle. It's a privately owned open space. Our Parks Department currently do not want to take it on. The area that is within the dashed orange line is proposed to be 4,000 square metres of community, commercial land, which is similar to a neighbourhood centre. It would accommodate such activities like healthcare, a supermarket and restaurants, and a cafe. There's also a walking and cycling route which is down the eastern side of the site, which is consistent with the local board's Greenways plan. So in summary, the plan change request will rezone the land, could rezone the land from mixed housing suburban to terraced housing and apartment buildings. It will enable up to 1,800 dwellings, and in comparison to what has been consented recently for the site is 400, so that's quite a large increase. Building heights of 13 metres, 21 metres, 35 metres, 4,000 square metres of commercial land, similar to a neighbourhood centre zone, and includes a privately owned park, which the applicant has indicated that the wider public is allowed access to as well. And here are some diagrams that the applicant has supplied, demonstrating where they put the parks and just the overall design that they wish to achieve through this precinct. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Todd. Warren, anything to add? Todd's covered it.
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. I guess it's one of the last large sites left in terms of relatively vacant land in the Albany area, which would be good for residential in this place.
Okay, now just in terms, I'd like to put the motions on the table. Councillors Watson and Walker, would you like to move and second the acceptance motions? Okay, look, I'd like to just get them on the table. Happy to, Councillor Watson, you happy to? Okay, I'll second then. Councillor Walker, Councillor Cooper will second. Councillor Walker, you've moved. Can I just check though? In our run through yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Bit of a blur. I just stressed the need for Auckland Council to signal making a submission. So you recall, members, that we made a submission and we made it very clear when we accepted that we'd make a submission. I can see that Auckland Transport is, but Auckland Council at this stage is not committed. It's just the whole. It is there. Yep. Okay, sorry. Good. You fine with that, Councillor Walker? So the reds in Councillor Cooper in red, you've got that? Can we scroll up again? Yeah. So we're noting that we're going to be making a submission. And that keeps us engaged differently to just having our reporting planners undertake the work. Okay, Councillor Walker, back to your question.
Thank you. I always appreciate your advice, Councillor Mulholland. So can you go down just a fraction more? That's it? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Great. So the question that I've got is quite obviously this plan change will afford a considerable gain in terms of upzoning to the developer. I mean, it's considerable. It's just a huge quantum. In a situation like this, are we able to ask for other things to be addressed? And certainly I'm picking up walking, cycling and public transport, but desirably we could have a really high level of compliance with Green Star and so on in terms of the building, the environmental design, the sustainability. So are we in a position to advocate for that so that there's some quid pro quo? So that's my first.
Todd or Warren?
Through the chair, the applicant has included in their precinct the Green Star rating building assessment, which has a scoring, I think, is 1 to 5 about the rating of buildings, and 5 being the most sustainable. So the assessment criteria that has been proposed includes rating tools as such that you're talking to.
So, for example, just further, I mean, would that include the collection of rainwater on site to, service the buildings?
I am not entirely familiar with the assessment criteria to that detail.
So Todd, what the council is referring to is not just having a Home Star or Green Star rating, it's actually the number, because it's the number that determines when you click over to looking at energy efficiency, water efficiency. You can have a Home Star rating, but you don't necessarily, it doesn't trigger water efficiency if it's a lower rating. So I think that's what the council is referring to. So in our submission, if we could maybe just consider the councillor's question as we explore our own submission on Home Star, Green Star rating. Something for us to have a look at there, I think.
And one other question, and I mean, I haven't looked at it in detail, but I do have a concern around the location of a supermarket in the development, given that there are other supermarkets literally across the road. So is there some rationale for that?
The rationale behind providing a commercial hub within this precinct is to accommodate the scale of growth. So the applicant has identified providing 1,800 dwellings in this area. There will need to be some local amenities for the residents to go to. The scale of the proposed supermarket, which is the total size that can be built, is 500 square metres. So, yeah.
I didn't catch that last response there,
I know
Mr.
the
Chair.
cricket's just
Something
started.
about
Maybe it was
£500.
Commentators. Thank you, Mark. Can we go back to business? So, councillor's question is, can you prescribe a supermarket of a certain size? I don't think you can do that through a plan change. You can't drop down into that level of detail. But look, I think we'll
Another
take on
last question,
Yep.
and that is, in instances where we've got a proposition like this that offers the opportunity to get very real gains, and I'm picking up on what the chair has said around the actual rating and so on. I mean, do we go over this and work with the developer or the person to make them aware of a whole range of things that they could incorporate? Do we actively do that?
The applicant has been working with Plans and Places for around 2 years for this. They came to us 2 years ago, and halfway through that process, with our feedback, they rejigged the site and changed a few things. So they have been working with us, and we were aware, well prior to it being lodged as well, that it was coming.
Be concerned around the low carbon issues. I mean, we've got a climate change emergency. I guess I'm just interested in whether that emergency is being reflected in terms of the request that we make of applicants.
Perhaps, Councillor Walker, I can just answer a couple of things there. Yes, we have been talking with the applicant. We've got another meeting in a couple of weeks' time, just to go through some of the issues around cycleways, a private commuter shuttle, and the Green Star rating already. And I'm happy to add in the discussion around the size of the supermarket and so on. And I think the Green Star rating matter will be notified. You have to notify it earlier that this is going to be a document to be looked at, and that'll be happening shortly as well.
Okay, so members, we can't actually require an applicant to do anything more than what the RMA requires and the unitary plan requires. So that's what we can require, that by law and by our statutory plan. And then other things like Green Star, Home Star, it could be tenure of housing, could be affordable housing, all of that. It will just be through goodwill and recommendation, and we just need to establish the relationship. I do see that they've got a pretty amazing design team. So they are throwing some highly skilled resource at this, good design resource. So we'll explore those issues, Councillor Watson, through our submission, but there'll probably be requirements and then there'll be recommendations.
Councillor Walker.
Sorry, what did I say? Sorry. I'm sure Councillor Watson would have been saying the same thing. But we will go to Councillor Watson right now.
So I'm just checking that in requests such as this, these private plan change requests, even though they go, in this instance, they go from mixed housing suburban right up to terraced housing apartment, along with a big chunk of 10-storey buildings, that under the what we have to have regard for, and if they back it up with the suitable accompanying detail, there's no grounds for refusal in terms of these coarse grain assessments we do as it relate to sound management practice. So really, if they chuck that resource at it, no matter how much the upscaling is, and if it's outside that 2-year period, even though 4 years is relatively recent for such a change, we really haven't got anything to hang our hat on, have we, in terms of refusal, no matter where this sort of thing occurs in Auckland.
So I think the point that the chair made in relation to D in the resolution is in terms of the council making a submission, is where we can raise some broader issues, and I've just talked about some of those areas of concern that we really want to see more in. It's not as though we haven't asked the applicant previously for some more detail. This is a way of us getting that into a public arena.
A follow-up question in terms of the local board view. Now, I know this group has presented to the local board twice with their plans. I don't know if it includes the latest stuff. It probably did. But in terms of their involvement, once again, in this, their views aren't really pertinent to our consideration today, are they?
So the process for us for them to make their formal views known to us is that, well, first of all, Todd presented or provided a memo to them some months ago about the development. But the idea and the process that we have now is that we wait until we've got submissions and further submissions in. We give them a summary of all of that information, and then they make their views known in writing to us. That means they know the views of their community as they provide their views to us. That gets incorporated into the Planners Section 42A report, which the commissioners will consider.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. Councillor Watson, now that you've asked your question, would you like to second this one?
Well, someone's already seconded.
I can drop out on that. I can drop out. Oh, was it me, was it? Or you? Councillor Cooper, Councillor Watson?
Yeah.
You're good.
Well, not happy.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Cooper. Councillor Cooper, your question.
It was just around the fact in plan changes. I mean, I'm just, some of the questioning, I just need clarification. A lot of the things like the star ratings and tanks and things, that's really at the resource consent stage, is it, rather than the plan change stage?
The Green Star rating is part of the plan change that they have offered to us. So we will make sure there are policies in there. Well, there are policies in there relating to following that along. Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Now, any other questions on this? It's moved by Councillor Walker and seconded by Councillor Watson. No further questions. We'll put it to the vote. Aye. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no, and declare that carried. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Warren.